Chapter 7. The 7 are waiting for him at the quayside. His breath whistles in his throat, his lungs burn, and he holds his arm tightly to his side. All of their expressions are dark. As soon as they see him, they turn and step onto a waiting ski boat. The craft is sleek, fresh painted red and blue, the name Sea Queen curling along its side in white letters. Mr. Mostard's best private craft. The boy knows it well. Many days he has seen it anchored at the reef beyond the northern channel. Uncle Mike lays a hand on the boy's shoulder. "We want a blue sailfish. Can you do that for us? We want a beautiful fish." The boy nods, pulling away from his touch as pain shoots through his forearm and pools in his shoulder. The hand does not let go. Instead, it grips his flesh harder. "We must get one," Uncle Mike whispers in the boy's ear, his mouth close enough for his breath to touch the skin. "We must impress our guest." Uncle Mike looks over to the ski boat, prompting the boy to glance over too. Suddenly, the pain ceases. There, standing among the 7, is a new man. A man slipped into an oilskin like all of them. A man at ease with the wind and sea like all of them. With crow's feet from staring into the sun like all of them. But unlike them, a man with a shock of hair as dark as tar, combed back, with eyes just as dark behind slanted lids. He is a man such as Jonathan has never seen before, a foreigner from the other side of the world. He looks directly at him. "We must impress him." Uncle Mike's hand digs into his shoulder once more, a final warning, before he strides to the quayside and steps down, crossing the sea between quay and craft. The boy stands a moment more, intent on the foreigner, his way of blending in but not at all, and then he hurries to release the bow line and send it sailing to the craft, and releases the aft line, and steps over the widening gap as the boat floats free. The 7 eye the boy as he steps onto the ski boat, his gnarled and bare feet, his tattered trousers, his holed shirt. Mr. van Deventer steps forward, intent on talking to the boy who will pilot his boat, but old Mr. Mocker stops him with a hand. "Stay with our guest, Jaco," says the old man, gently guiding van Deventer to the stern of the boat. "I'll talk to him." Mr. Mocker joins the boy at the wheelhouse. He puts a friendly hand on Jonathan's own and leans in with friendly eyes. "You know this boat?" Jonathan nods, relieved to be confronted by the kind face. "You can pilot it?" He nods. "Uncle Mike says you can get us a blue sailfish." "Yes, Mr. Mocker," he whispers, believing it with all his heart. Mr. Mocker gestures to the screen of the Furuno echo sound, mounted above the wheel. "We are looking for a big fish, anything over 50 kilos. The boy nods. Mr. Mocker observes this face. It is one that has never seen the inside of a school. The sparse beard does a poor job of hiding the boy's sad upper lip. It is an ignorant face, but undoubtedly a face of the wind and the water, of kicking and blood, a face full of the wisdom of the sea. "You know how to use the Furuno?" The boy shrugs. "Yes, sir. I have been fishing for many years." "I know you have. You will do very well." Mr. Mocker clasps him on the shoulder, an act of encouragement that does not know the pain it causes. "Do you have a jacket? We're going out deep. It will get cold." "Nee, meneer. No, sir." Mr. Mocker slides open a panel beside the wheel. He pulls from it a stained bomber jacket, painted with old fish muck. "You can wear this." "Thank you," whispers the boy. He holds the jacket to his chest, not wanting to risk revealing his injury by putting it on. "We'll get you some boots," Mr. Mocker says, eyeing the boy's toes clutching the rough, red-painted deck. Again he clasps the boy's shoulder, and then turns to rejoin the men. The boy watches. He sees them shuffle awkwardly, avoiding looking at him while shooting glances at Uncle Mike. He knows they do not trust him at all. He flicks his eyes to the foreigner, and with a shock finds those dark eyes watching his own. The foreigner smiles before slipping a pair of sunglasses onto his face. The boy turns away quickly. He lets his hands settle on the controls. He closes his eyes. Through the polished chrome of the wheel and the smooth plastic of the throttle, he feels every part of the craft beneath his feet. The men with their unfriendly faces fill him with anxiety. They are unknown and frightening. But this craft, even though he has never piloted it, fills him with peace. He knows it like he knows the sea, like he knows fish, like he knows his own breath. Smoothly, he clicks the twin Yamaha 120s into reverse. The Sea Queen pounds across the ocean, her twin motors set to full so that she skips above the swell, the rhythm lulling all on board. The men of the bay have naturally found lees of protection against the driving spray, and they loll against the bucking of the craft. The foreigner has found his place too, as easy as all of them. The day is clear but for clouds drifting far out to the west. They will build by mid-afternoon. The boy casts his mind into the waters. Blue sailfish. His instinct is to cruise to the north, where there is a choice of 3 reefs. There, the cold Atlantic is infused by a geyser pumping hot minerals upward from 200 farm deep. There, krill gather, and plankton iridescent green on moonlit nights, and cruising sperm whales passing for the Arctic, and sailfish feasting on the mackerel that swirl through the rich deep water current, and among them their king, the blue. Uncle Mike watches him, nodding approval at the choice of direction, at the clear plan. Eat. The boy sends his thoughts out into the cold waters, feeling as they bounce back to him against the shoals of mackerel and the giant swellings of whale diving deeper. Eat, moan the mackerel. Whoom, pulses a grey whale with a calf at her side. Et, shudder the dark creatures near the cold of the ocean floor. But no blue sailfish. Eat. This pulse is clear as day, as sharp as anger, and it comes directly from Uncle Mike's stabbing eyes. The boy's arm sings a painful song. He keeps his hand tucked against his stomach as the leagues of ocean fall behind. All the while the foreigner sits content in his lee from the wind, watching this open place with his seafaring eyes. Even though he is the outsider among them, he is the calm center of the boat. The boy attempts to sound him, but the man's mind is impenetrable. Again, he turns his attention to the sea. Land is gone from the horizon. All is blue and moving. Eat. Sailfish toward the eastern reef, 3 of them, more to the north but none of the size he seeks. Eat. How reads the monitor? Mr. Van Deventer has sent the words flinging over the heaving craft. The boy glances at the monitor. He has no interest in it. The screen is blank. Noch nix, still nothing, he mutters, shaking his shaggy head. And then it hits. He hears his quarry cruising at 20 farm, a giant among fish. She slides through the water, her great eye containing the world, and her great sail blue as the deep and streaked with green above her. Ting! Sings the mind of the fish, a lone and sustained note. She is not feeding. The pain in the boy's arm disappears. The tension in his stomach evaporates. The hunt has begun. From now until its end, he and the fish will be one. Van Deventer can see the change in the boy. What have you got? Hot adrenaline hits him. Good fish at 20 farm, he shouts, the words falling awkwardly across his lip as he turns the boat to lay line and trail it across that broad beak. But she is not hungry. We must bait her. Lay line! Lay line! The boy's words ring with certainty. The men jump to, seizing their rods and flinging hooks with whole cuppa sailing over the side as the Sea Queen begins her slow trawl. The boy can hear the cuppa fall. He can feel their fall echo through the waters, and the shift of the myriad life below him as they turn to it. He can smell the cuppa in the water, as she can. A bull shark turns, nosing up for the bait, but the blue stays on course. The boy watches the foreigner lolling against the bulkhead, watching the seven from behind his shades and, unknown to the boy, watching him also. "She is not feeding. We must bait her." The boy steps out to the center of the sea queen, easily riding her cant, and dances his way to the bulkhead. "Mynheer, have you got tails?" He is pulling the anchor rope out of its hatch, searching behind it. "What do you want?" Van Deventer is watching him upside down, leaning back against the weight of his rod rising above him. "Tails, sir. I'm sure you have some. We must bait her with some tails." The boy finds what he is looking for, a Hessian sack still thick with the morning's muck and still cool in the bin of the anchor's hatch, and still crawling with life. He upends the sack to send a flood of tails flapping across the deck, young cray ticking and crawling at the touch of fresh air, all of them undersized. The foreigner looks on. "Hey!" Van Deventer does not like his secrets revealed. "The fish is not hungry, sir. She will eat when she tastes this." The boy stomps one of them across its still forming shell, crushing brain and carapace, sending crab fingers ticking. He stomps another, 4 of the pile, letting their muck and juice coat the others. He gathers them with both hands, the cracked bone in his right shoulder grating, but unheard and unfelt, and scatters them over the side. "He's lost his fucking mind!" Mostert is laughing, his rod arcing above him. "He's showing his colors." Just a boy, just a poor little boat-fishing boy who cannot afford even his own motor or his own shirt. "She is not hungry." The boy can see her in his mind's eye, cruising through the blue, her sails spread like a fan above, whispering through that deep, cold water. He watches, and then he smiles. For she turns. She has smelled the mess of shell and brain and meat, and she hears the flapping of those crays still living as they scoot through the deep, doomed with no shallow rock to claim as home. With a sweep of tail she turns, coming round, coming onto the line. A blue sailfish, as the boy knows, always has time for shellfish. "Eat," she murmurs. Van Deventer is watching the boy. Uncle Mike is watching him too. Quietly, the foreigner looks on. He smiles with the joy of the sea. He knows a fisherman when he sees one. "Be ready!" The boy returns to the wheel, full of that great fish. "Eat," reverberates inside him. "Eat," she whispers as she comes closer. There the cuppa hang, the mess of cray swirling around them, the strong nylon of the line stretching through the blue. There she comes, sailing through eternity. Ching! Pops fat Mostert's line, dipping hard enough to pull the man to his feet. His practiced hands fly to reel to release and let run. The fish sounds with cuppa lodged in her throat. She shudders as hook cuts gill and pulls. She kicks. "She's going to go all the way to the bottom. Then she's going to circle." The men watch the line spinning away. "How much is on there?" 300 farms, says Mostert, letting it trail. "I hope it's enough." Sir should tie off. Let her take our weight. That line is strong." "The boy's right. It's 50-kilo line. We'll drift with him. Make the bastard tired." "I don't let boys tell me how to fish." Mostert begins to work his rod once, twice, pumping it, letting the fish know she is in a fight, then releasing once again. The line sings off the reel. The fish dives deep, dragging death with her. "Theo, don't be foolish. The boy is right. Better to keep him close. Let him take our weight." Mostert shakes his head, his strong shoulders hunched over the rod in his fists. But he is a man of the cruel sea. He knows fish. He knows folly. He clicks his tongue and flips the reel, bracing for the weight to come hard onto the rod. The rod creaks and bends straight over, Mostert rising to make it a straight line into the foaming sea, taking any hint of tension he can off the creaking stick. "Help me!" Steel fingers and steel wrists steady him as the fish pulls him near the blue. pulling him back on deck and bracing him there. With the faintest push, the craft takes a new course. Beneath them she pauses, feeling the tug of death doubled. And then she swims. "It's a monster!" Van Deventer is staring at the reel in Mostard's fists. The boy glances at the foreigner. There is peace on his face. He rises to join them. He must. This is his sea also. "It's a massive son of a bitch." Mostard has clamped down on the rod, his fists steel claws. "Now we wait him out." Quiet descends over the boat. The lapping of the ocean against the craft keeps them company, and the wheeling of two gulls, far from home and hoping for a meal. For Mostard, pain begins. It is between him and the fish below. For the boy, the pain of the fish begins. He feels the cutting steel in her mouth. He feels her strength, kicking against the weight looming above her. "You are not afraid of the line breaking?" This is the first time the foreigner has spoken. His words are accented and strange. Shyly, the men rearrange themselves. Van Deventer speaks for them. "A fish of this size is older. He will take it slow. He is strong and experienced. He will not want to waste energy. This will tire him out. A younger fish, a smaller fish, he will want to jump and dive. We would give him line to hang himself with. A fish like this, we will drown him with our weight." The foreigner nods. "How would you take him?" asks Mostard, not taking his eyes from the sea. The foreigner considers the question. He looks up at the sun. "Every fish is different. Even when you have him understood, he will surprise you. I like to catch with a lighter line to make the catch more dangerous. But this is not preferred by my people. We will use a fixed line and a mechanical winch. We do not often use a rod anymore." He nods. "I think you have a good way. I think you will catch a good fish." The men nod. His logic is their logic, the logic of the sea. "You were using cloud spinners on your boats when you caught your tunny, your tuna, last week." Uncle Mike is talking, the sting of that day in his voice. "We would not use cloud spinners on tunny. We were surprised that you caught it all." "You would not?" The foreigner leans forward, genuinely interested. "What would you use?" "Tunny prefer bait at a lower depth, or yellow dolly. They don't like metal. The sun flashes off it. They like sardine blood and movement. But yellow dolly is their favorite." The foreigner nods, digesting the information. "I'm sure you are right. We have not caught so well again. That day was but one." The men smile behind their moustaches. Pride is pride. "In your country, you would use the spinner?" "Yes," he bows. "Our tunny, our sakana, they do not mind the flashing of the sun. But there the sun does not rise so high, and it is not so bright. In my country, the sea is not the same." "He's circling!" Mostard stands, bracing his thighs against the gunwale. Van Deventer and Nico Scarfsma stand too, their hands ready to grab. "He does not like our hook!" Mostard works the fish with constant pressure, making sure the hook remains jammed in her bony mouth. All can see that the fish is circling to the left. The boy sits behind the wheel, his arms crossed at the chest, his eyes only half open. The pain in his arm pulses through him and blends with the pain in her jaw. They are indistinguishable. The boy breathes with gills as he sits at the wheel. He shimmers with scales. He follows the fish in his mind's eye, unaware that all the while, the foreign man, Mr. Yoguchi, has one eye on him also. 200 farm down the great fish comes round, a puff of red trailing from her. "Slack line!" yells Mostard, frantically working the reel. "She's coming up!" The boy has jumped out of his trance. He drops the lever at his right hand, kicking the boat into reverse. "Fatmake! What's he doing? Tell that son of a bitch it's my fish! Mostard's hand whirs, trying to take up the slack. Get off the controls! Uncle Mike is shouting, embarrassed by his boy. She's coming up fast. She wants to throw the hook. The boy can feel her rising. He can feel her desire. She's going to jump. He wills the sea queen to reverse even faster and to keep tension on the line. With a strong shake of that great head, the hook could fall free. It's my fucking fish, roars Mostert. Leave that, shouts Uncle Mike, grabbing the boy by the tattered collar. There's it, calls Van Deventer, a shadow of silver rising through the blue, her body 3/4 the length of the sea queen, and then she bursts free. The men are silent as she arcs against the sky, her sails snapped taut and spread, her eye moving over them as she turns, the white of the line sailing with her. The hook is still fuss, calls Mocha. She's going to dive! Give line! No, I have him now! Line! Give line! Mostert fumbles on the reel and, at the moment of pressure, his finger slips on the catch so that he does not give line, and instead the falling fish pulls the line to breaking, and Mostert, his hands numb from the long fight, does not let go. With a thump, the line parts and the great fish falls free. In a flash, the boy is up on the gunwale on dancing feet, and in another he hefts a gaff in his left hand. The fish lies stunned on the surface, a boat's length from where they drift. He skips to the bow, about to dive. No. Van Deventer has his hand out and dug into the boy's tattered t-shirt. Come now, boy. That fish will cut you with one flick of its tail. A fair fight. He wins the day. Below them the fish turns, showing the silver of her side. Her great eye regards them, reflecting them all within it, before a shiver of her tail slips her beneath the surface, and with another she is gone. Around them the waters loom. It is just the sea queen and the men, alone. Fair fight, Mostert, says Van Deventer, clapping his old friend on the shoulder. Fair fight. Biggest fish I ever hooked, Mostert says, stroking his beard. Fair fight, says the foreigner. The men slip into silence. For once their thoughts are the same. Now, and later as they sigh into their beds, that great eye is with them.